Quick Test tests your dynamically changing application by learning and identifying test objects and their expected properties and values. To do this, Quick Test analyzes each object in your application in much the same way that a person would look at a photograph and remember its details. The following sections introduce the concepts related to the test object model and describe how Quick Test uses the information it gathers to test your application. Quick Test learns objects just as you would. For example, suppose as part of an experiment, Alex is told that he will be shown a photograph of a picnic scene for a few seconds during which someone will point out one item in the picture. Alex is told that he will be expected to identify that item again in identical or similar pictures 1 week from today. Before he is shown the photograph, Alex begins preparing himself for the test by thinking about which characteristics he wants to learn about the item that the tester indicates. Obviously, he will automatically note whether it is a person, inanimate object, animal, or plant. Then, if it is a person, he will try to commit to memory the gender, skin color, and age. If it is an animal, he will try to remember the type of animal, its color, and so forth. The tester shows the scene to Alex and points out one of 3 children sitting on a picnic blanket. Alex notes that it is a Caucasian girl, about 8 years old. In looking at the rest of the picture, however, he realizes that one of the other children in the picture could also fit that description. In addition to learning his planned list of characteristics, he also notes that the girl he is supposed to identify has long, brown hair. Now that only one person in the picture fits the characteristics he learned, he is fairly sure that he will be able to identify the girl again, even if the scene the tester shows him next week is slightly different. Since he still has a few moments left to look at the picture, he attempts to notice other, more subtle differences between the children he is supposed to remember and the others in the picture just in case. If the 2 similar children in the picture appeared to be identical twins, Alex might also take note of some less permanent feature of the child, such as the child's position on the picnic blanket. That would enable him to identify the child if he were shown another picture in which the children were sitting on the blanket in the same order. Quick Test uses a very similar method when it learns objects. First, it looks at the object being learned and stores it as a test object, determining in which test object class it fits. In the same way, Alex immediately checked whether the item was a person, animal, plant, or inanimate object. Quick Test might classify the test object as a standard Windows dialog box, dialog, a web button, or a Visual Basic Scroll Bar object, VBS, CR, OLLBAR, for example. Then, Quick Test considers identification properties for the test object. For each test object class, Quick Test has a list of mandatory properties that it always learns, similar to the list of characteristics that Alex planned to learn before seeing the picture. When Quick Test learns an object, it always learns these default property values and then looks at the rest of the objects on the page, dialog box, or other parent object to check whether this description is enough to uniquely identify the object. If it is not, Quick Test adds assistive properties, one by one, to the description, until it has compiled a unique description, similar to when Alex added the hair length and color characteristics to his list. If no assistive properties are available, or if those available are not sufficient to create a unique description, Quick Test adds a special ordinal identifier, such as the object's location on the page, or in the source code, to create a unique description, just as Alex would have remembered the child's position on the picnic blanket if 2 of the children in the picture had been identical twins. Quick Test also uses a very human-like technique for identifying objects during the run session. Suppose as a continuation to the experiment, Alex is now asked to identify the same item he initially identified but in a new, yet similar environment. The first photograph he is shown is the original photograph. He searches for the same Caucasian girl, about 8 years old, with long, brown hair, that he was asked to remember and immediately picks her out. In the second photograph, the children are playing on the playground equipment, but Alex is still able to easily identify the girl using the same criteria. Similarly, during a run session, Quick Test searches for a runtime object that exactly matches the description of the test object it learned previously. It expects to find a perfect match for both the mandatory and any assistive properties it used to create a unique description while learning the object. As long as the object in the application does not change significantly, the description learned is almost always sufficient for quick test to uniquely identify the object. This is true for most objects, but your application could include objects that are more difficult to identify during subsequent run sessions. Consider the final phase of Alex's experiment. In this phase, the tester shows Alex another photograph of the same family at the same location, but the children are older and there are also more children playing on the playground. Alex first searches for a girl with the same characteristics he used to identify the girl in the other pictures, the test object, but none of the Caucasian girls in the picture have long, brown hair. Luckily, Alex was smart enough to remember some additional information about the girl's appearance when he first saw the picture the previous week. He is able to pick her out, the runtime object, even though her hair is now short and dyed blonde. How is he able to do this? First, he considers which features he knows he must find. Alex knows that he is still looking for a Caucasian female, and if he were not able to find anyone that matched this description, he would assume she is not in the photograph. After he has limited the possibilities to the 4 Caucasian females in this new photograph, he thinks about the other characteristics he has been using to identify the girl: her age, hair color, and hair length. He knows that some time has passed, and some of the other characteristics he remembers may have changed, even though she is still the same person. Thus, since none of the Caucasian girls have long, dark hair, he ignores these characteristics and searches for someone with the eyes and nose he remembers. He finds 2 girls with similar eyes, but only one of these has the petite nose he remembers from the original picture. Even though these are less prominent features, he is able to use them to identify the girl. Quick test uses a very similar process of elimination with its smart identification mechanism to identify an object, even when the learned description is no longer accurate. Even if the values of your identification properties change, quick test maintains your test's reusability by identifying the object using smart identification. 1. Start quick test. If quick test is not currently open, open it, making sure that only the web add-in is loaded. 2. If it is not currently open, open the Mercury Tours test you created in Lesson 2, creating an action in one of the following ways. Choose File, Open, Test, navigate to the Mercury Tours test, and click the Open button. Click the Open button or the Open button down arrow. The Open Test dialog box opens. Navigate to the Mercury Tours test and click the Open button. 3. Set the Learn settings for quick test. A. Choose Automation greater than Record and Run settings. The Record and Run settings dialog box opens. B. In the Web tab, select Open the following address when a record or run session begins. C. Confirm that the URL in the first box is http://newtours.demoit.com, and in the second box, choose a browser on which to run your test session. Microsoft Internet Explorer is the browser used in this tutorial. D. Confirm that do not record and run on browsers that are already open and close the browser when the test closes are selected. E. Click OK when you run the test. Your browser will open to the Mercury Tours website. When the run session ends, your browser will close. 4. Open the Mercury Tours website. Open Internet Explorer and browse to the Mercury Tours website, http://newtours.demoit.com. 5. View the properties and operations for some of the objects in the Mercury Tours website. A. In Quick Test, choose Tools greater than Objects by. The Objects by dialog box opens. B. Drag the Objects by dialog box to the right side of your screen. This will enable you to see the objects you want to spy on more clearly. Verify that the Keep Object Spy on Top while spying checkbox is selected. C. Click the pointing hand button. Quick Test is hidden, and the Object Spy dialog box is displayed over the Mercury Tours website welcome page. D. Move the mouse cursor over the various objects on the page and watch what happens in the Object Spy dialog box. E. Position the mouse cursor in the username edit box, but do not click it. The test object hierarchy of that object is displayed. In the hierarchy box, notice that the name of the object is WebEdit, which is its object class type. Click the username edit box. Quick Test opens again. In the hierarchy box, notice that the object class and name are now displayed. WebEdit username. Click close to close the Objects by dialog box. 6. Start the Navigate and Learn process by setting up the Define Object filter. In Quick Test, choose Resources greater than Object Repository Manager. The Object Repository Manager window opens. In the Object Repository Manager window, choose Object greater than Navigate and Learn. Both Quick Test and the Object Repository Manager are hidden. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Define Object Filter button. The Define Object Filter dialog box opens. In the Define Object Filter dialog box, select the Selected Object Types radio button and click Select. The Select Object Types dialog box opens. Click the Clear All button to clear all of the checkboxes. Then select the Edit box and Image checkboxes and click OK. This instructs Quick Test to learn only the objects that are needed for your test and add them to the object repository. This helps keep object repository maintenance to a minimum. In the Define Object Filter dialog box, click OK. 7. Learn the selected object types from the Mercury Tours website welcome page. In this step, you instruct Quick Test to learn all of the objects in the Mercury Tours website welcome page that match your filter, and to add them to a shared object repository. In the Mercury Tours website welcome page, click the title to bring it into focus. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Learn button. The web page flickers and the Adding Objects message box are displayed as Quick Test begins adding representations of the objects on the web page to a new object repository. Adding these objects takes a few seconds. Do not interact with the web page while Navigate and Learn runs. When the flashing stops and the Adding Objects box closes, Navigate and Learn has finished adding the objects to the object repository. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Close button. The Navigate and Learn toolbar closes, and Quick Test and the Object Repository Manager window are visible again. 8. Remove unneeded objects from the object repository. In the previous step, Quick Test added all of the objects that match your filter selection to the object repository. For this test, you need only a few objects, so in this step, you will delete the extraneous objects. In the Object Repository Manager window, expand the objects in the Test Objects tree. You should see a list of objects similar to the following. Delete all of the image test objects except for sign-in, password, and username by selecting the objects and choosing Edit greater than Delete, or clicking the Delete button. You can select multiple objects using the Shift and Ctrl keys. Click Yes in the confirmation box. 9. See what Quick Test learned about one of the objects in the test object tree. Highlight the username object. In the right pane, notice its object properties. These are the descriptive properties that Quick Test will use to identify the object during a run session. 10. Save the object repository. In the Object Repository Manager window, choose File, Save, or click the Save button. The Save Shared Object Repository dialog box opens. Browse to the location in which you want to save your object repositories, create a folder named Tutorial Object Repositories, and double-click it in the File Name box. Enter Mercury's login TSR, and click Save. 11. Associate the object repository with a login action. Switch to the Quick Test window, and open the Resources pane, if it is not already open, by choosing View greater than Resources, or clicking the Resources button. In the Resources pane, right-click the Login action, and choose Associate Repository with Action. The Open Attachment dialog box opens. Locate and select the Mercury's log in TSR Shared Object Repository and click Open. The object repository is now associated with the login action, and is displayed in the Resources pane as a child of that action. Associating an object repository with an action enables you to use any object from that repository in any step in the associated action. 12. Save your test, choose File, Save, or click the Save button. In the previous section, you created a shared object repository for the welcome page of the Mercury Tours website. Now, you will create a shared object repository for each of the remaining pages in the site. For the purposes of this tutorial, you will instruct QuickTest to learn all of the objects on each page. At this point, you do not need to associate the object repositories with a specific action. 1. If it is not still open, log into the Mercury Tours website. A. In the username and password boxes, type tutorial. B. Click Sign in the Flight Finder page opens. 2. Create a new shared object repository. A. If the object repository manager is closed, open it by choosing Resources greater than Object Repository Manager in QuickTest. The Object Repository Manager window opens. B. In the Object Repository Manager window, choose File, New. A blank shared object repository opens. 3. Start the Navigate and Learn process by setting up the Define Object filter. A. In the Object Repository Manager window, choose Object, Navigate and Learn. Both QuickTest and the Object Repository Manager are hidden. B. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Define Object Filter button. The Define Object Filter dialog box opens. C. In the Define Object Filter dialog box, select all object types and click OK. 4. Learn all of the objects from the Mercury Tours website Flight Finder page. In this step, you instruct QuickTest to learn all of the objects in the Mercury Tours website Flight Finder page that match your filter, and to add them to a shared object repository. A. Click the Find a Flight page title bar to change the focus from the Navigate and Learn toolbar to the web page you want QuickTest to learn. B. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Learn button. The web page flickers and the Adding Objects message box is displayed as QuickTest begins adding representations of the objects on the web page to a new object repository. Adding these objects takes a few seconds. Do not interact with the web page while Navigate and Learn runs. C. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Close button. The Navigate and Learn toolbar closes, and QuickTest and the Object Repository Manager window are visible again. 5. Save the shared object repository. A. In the Object Repository Manager window, choose File greater than SAV or click the SAV button. The SAV Shared Object Repository dialog box opens. B. Browse to the Tutorial Object Repositories folders and select it in the File Name box. Enter Mercury's Flight Finder TSR and click Save. 6. Create a new shared object repository, add objects to it, and save the repository. A. In the Flight Finder page, click Continue. The Select Flight page opens. You are now ready to add objects from this page. B. Switch to the Object Repository Manager window and choose File greater than New. A blank shared object repository opens. C. In the Object Repository Manager window, choose Object greater than Navigate and Learn. Both QuickTest and the Object Repository Manager are hidden. D. Click the Select Flight page title bar to change the focus from the Navigate and Learn toolbar to the web page you want QuickTest to learn. E. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Learn button. The web page flickers and the Adding Objects message box is displayed as QuickTest begins adding representations of the objects on the web page to a new object repository. Adding these objects takes a few seconds. Do not interact with the web page while Navigate and Learn runs. F. In the Navigate and Learn toolbar, click the Close button. The Navigate and Learn toolbar closes, and QuickTest and the Object Repository Manager window are visible again. G. In the Object Repository Manager window, choose File greater than SAV or click the SAV button. The SAV Shared Object Repository dialog box opens. H. Browse to the Tutorial Object Repositories folder and select it in the File Name box. Enter Mercury's Select Flight TSR and click Save. 7. Create new shared object repositories for each of the remaining web pages. A. Repeat Step 6 to create shared object repositories for the following pages. O. Book a flight. O. Flight confirmation. B. Name the object repositories Mercury's Book Flight TSR and Mercury's Flight confirmation respectively. 8. Associate the Mercury's Flight Finder TSR object repository with a Flight Finder action. A. Switch to QuickTest and open the Resources pane, if it is not already open, by choosing View greater than Resources, or clicking the Resources pane button. Be in the Resources pane, right-click the Flight Finder action, and choose Associate Repository with Action. The Open Shared Object Repository dialog box opens. See Locate and select the MirCurators FlightFinder TSR Shared Object Repository and click Open. The object repository is now associated with the Flight Finder action and is displayed in the Resources pane as a child of that action. 9. Associate the remaining object repositories with the relevant actions. Repeat Step 8 and associate MirCurators Select Flight TSR with the Select Flight action. Associate the following repositories with the Book Flight action: MirCurators Book Flight TSR MirCurators Flight Confirmation. Later, when you add steps to each action, all of the required test objects will be available for use. 10. Save your test. Choose File greater than SAV or click the SAV button.